But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
With the rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to get helping.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11.
Self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird. We go deep, and it's interesting. Some of the questions, the most pertinent questions about what it means to be human, go back thousands of years. And they're questions we're still asking, not just through folklore, not just through the storytelling aspect that we always talk about. We're asking them through science. And we're trying to put together a huge piece of the puzzle based on consciousness, based on the old philosophical idea of what makes me, me, and what makes you, you. We're very different, but we're also very much the same. And so in that particular case here, we have some diverging science that suggests, well, not necessarily science. Sometimes, we overuse the word science because, it lends some authenticity to the things we're doing. It's a theory, right? Some of these are theories. Sometimes they're not science at all. But in any case, they are still these questions that go back to the primordial space of the human mindset, of what it means to be human. Now, in this particular idea here, I was just going through some stuff like I always do. And one of these is from Psychology Today, and it's called Consciousness Leaves a Paper Trail. What if our puzzlement about consciousness is itself a clue? And I was like, well, that's fascinating. I kind of like that. The fact that we question our conscious self, that we ask the larger question, maybe this is evidence of said consciousness. So we're not just an NPC kind of bumbling through life doing NPC style things. And I hate the term NPC. We'll talk about that as we go tonight. And so here's the other one, futurism.com. So wild new paper claims human brain doesn't produce consciousness. Well, the plot thickens. Some two kind of diverging aspects of this in the same space. These articles drop just a day apart from each other and are looking at what it means to be human and the larger consciousness of the universe in completely different ways, and even in a parallel. As some of these things you can see when we go back to the very beginning of things, there are some parallels that are ancient that really fit into these ideas, which is fascinating as hell to me, which is the whole point of me being here and thinking about these ideas and talking with them about you, talking to you guys about them. Sorry. Whoa. It's incredible that these same ideas go back to the beginning and we're still asking them. And maybe one might make the case that we're not even any closer to that truth than we ever have been. Or maybe we are. I don't know. As usual, look, I don't know those answers. That stuff is way above my pay grade, as I like to say. But it doesn't mean I can be afraid of the larger questions, okay? And here's one of the most important parts of this conversation tonight. And not just this one, but the entirety of the great conversation, as we like to call it on Troubled Minds, is that it's okay to have a conversation, to talk about things that may or may not resolve, kick around the cosmic soccer ball, as I like to call it, and not come to a conclusion. Everything need not boil down to a binary conclusion that we fight about. We can talk about ideas together. We can consider what is or what isn't and talk about the nuance therein and then operate tomorrow like you just had an enriching conversation. That's it. And with that said, all the disclaimers apply. There's no truth to be found here. This is just ideas. This is just philosophy. This is just people talking about these larger questions. Let's go straight to the actual write-up here. It is very good tonight if you want to read it. I'm calling it The World Soul, or of course, The Empty Copy. And that's where we start. I'll read this because it's probably better than me just rambling on as I've been. My apologies for that. But let's start with what you think you know. Zombie. You're picturing the movie version, the rotting thing that shuffles after you, moaning for brains. This is straight from the write-up, of course. But that's Hollywood. The word comes from Haitian folklore, and the original meaning is stranger and quieter. A zombie, Z-O-M-B-I, or zombie, how do you say this? I'm not sure. A zombie was a without the E, Z-O-M-B-I, was a body with the animating self pulled out of it. It still walks, it still works, it follows orders, but there's nobody inside. The lights are on, and the house is empty. Now hold on to that image, because here's the part almost nobody knows. When philosophers went looking for a name for a hypothetical creature, a body that behaves exactly like a living person but has no inner experience at all, no feeling of being alive on the inside, they reached across the ocean and borrowed that exact word. In philosophy, it's called the philosophical zombie, or P-zombie for short. And if you don't believe me, yeah, you bet your bippy. Link is in the description down below. Do check it out because it is a real thing, the philosophical zombie. And it is based heavily in this idea of consciousness, of us being a vessel that is home to a greater entity, okay? The actual animating spirit of humanity, of our individuality, okay? And so in this particular case, like I said, it gets complicated because I'm sure... we'll get to that. Let me just read from the thing because it's probably better than me rambling on. Anyway, so a laboratory full of academics and a village full of folklore ended up staring at the same fear and calling it the same thing. And that, of course, is the thread we're pulling tonight. Underneath all of it sits one uncomfortable question. How would you ever tell the difference between a soul and a really good imitation of one? Yeah. And this really, we don't have to talk AI. This is not an AI show tonight, but this is one of those questions that's really reforming in that AI space. Can an AI entity ever become, quote, conscious? And for me, the answer is very simple, is that we don't even understand our own. So kind of I dub the conscious to a inanimate object that is now animated seems hollow. So I'm going to dodge that. I think it's irrelevant to the conversation tonight. But here's what kicked this off. In a single week this August, two respectable mainstream adjacent publications ran pieces circling the same forbidden idea from opposite directions, as I said when we started. The idea is this. Maybe your brain does not actually produce consciousness. The plot thickens, right? The first is a neuroscientist named Christoph Koch, K-O-C-H, who has spent his career hunting for where consciousness lives in the brain. At a science conference in Portugal, he basically threw up his hands and said, we might be looking in the wrong place entirely. His point, boiled down, is that nothing in physics explains how a few pounds of wet tissue can fall in love. or dream or dread its own death. So maybe mind is not something the brain manufactures. Maybe consciousness is a basic feature of the universe itself, like mass or charge, and the brain is less of a factory and more of a radio, tuning into a signal that was already there. Now, that exact thing we've talked about quite a lot. It is, again, another backbone of what Troubled Minds is, sort of the greater consciousness space of the cosmos itself, and how that really envelops us, or is part of us, or is it separate, or how does it work? Anyway, so that's where we start. I've got the other part. We'll read the rest of this as we go tonight. As usual, like I said, the write-up is very good if you want to kind of catch up on what I'm saying or get ahead and maybe give us a call, because I would appreciate that very much. If you want to be part of the conversation, the number tonight is 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It is easy as that. And for the time being, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be one very near and dear to my heart, because, of course, the Stoic mindset is fundamental to controlling yourself in a mass media world that would control you for you. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up in just one moment after the Stoic Minute. Catch you on the other side of the break. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset, and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. And welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? All right, so the second piece is subtler. And these are linked in the description down below, one from Psychology Today, one from Futurism.com. And the second piece is subtler, and honestly, it's the better mind bender in this case. It walks through an argument built by a physicist, and it goes like this. Modern science assumes the physical world is a closed loop. Every physical event has a physical cause. A neuron fires because of the neuron before it. There is no gap in the machinery where a ghost reaches in and pushes. Fine. But if that's true, then your inner experience, the actual felt redness of red or sting of pain, can't be doing anything. It's just along for the ride. A passenger with no hands on the wheel. Now, I'll leave the write-up there for a second here, because this is the point of this, is when you look at what it means to be a conscious entity in let's call it the scientific space of a conscious entity in the void of consciousness, because, science says the Fermi paradox and we're alone in the universe. And, this is all debatable stuff. So I'm not making that claim, but I am saying that sort of the consensus now is that we are alone. Humans are alone in the universe, as absurd as it sounds to say. And I know science is kind of coming around and making some cases for maybe not. And some people have had full-on experiences with non-human intelligence in many different ways, even through the dream state and some other ways that they swear is real to the end of ends. In any case, that is not the conversation tonight, but it is really one of those other backbones of what we talk about on this show, because it is one of the most important. Are we alone? And beyond that, if we are or we're not, let's say there is a non-human intelligence out there, an alien consciousness, is it possible that somehow we're entangled together with or without or whatever with said consciousness? Okay, so tonight, again, I'm calling this the world soul, or of course the empty copy. And if you go back to the old traditions, the shaman of old, many times when people were ill, when depression set in, when things like this, sort of a mental health happening was afoot. In the old days, they would take you to the shaman, and they would try and ascertain what was happening with you in that space and consider and wonder how much of your soul had been corrupted, or maybe had left you and needed to be brought back, a slice of it, a sliver, a piece, whatever this was. And so in this particular case tonight, and when you look at this and look at these new ideas that aren't really new, they're really old ideas that have been dressed in scientific language. But if you look at this and go back to that, there is this weird parallel between the meat suit experience. I know it's gross. I don't like to think about it that way either. And the divine spark within, the actual consciousness of ourselves and the greater cosmos. And is it possible to lose it, to lose a full or portion of the spark within that turns you into one of these zombies, one of the, as they're known in this day and age, the non-player character? And as I said, I don't like the term, and I'll just briefly reiterate why. Look, if I was an NPC 20 years ago, I'm not now. Okay, so however you want to define that, then I just don't like to kind of cast judgments on things that are always changing. And maybe there's a consciousness step where you kind of fully click into yourself. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't like drawing lines. I don't like making assumptions. I don't like, like casting aspersion on people that think differently than me. I just don't do that. I try very hard not to anyway, but that's why I don't like the term. But it is certainly a part of what we're talking about tonight, because it means the empty home, the vacant eyes, the sort of lack of total agency that's being drawn along through this mass media conglomerate of information that just drags you into, well, where you're supposed to be based on what the information space is telling you. So anyway, what do you know about this? How weird does it get, of course, is really my favorite question to ask when it comes to these ideas. And do you think there is such a thing as an empty copy? Is it possible for our soul, that divine spark, the consciousness within, to somehow escape? Whether that's through an out-of-body experience, whether that's through some sort of metaphysical trauma, whether it's something as yet decided in a technical term. Is it possible? Or what if the opposite is true? And what if we're always commingling with this larger world soul, as I'm calling it tonight, which again is an old idea, that all of the cosmos is conscious in some way. We're entangled with it. Our microtubules in our brain actually form into this larger quantum conscious space that's always been there and will always be there, which connects us not to ourselves and our family and every modern mind and soul on the planet, but also going back millennia and connects us to our ancestors and the ancestral idea of a spirit. So I don't know. Look, like I said, no answers from me, just more questions and ideas. And I think it's highly fascinating that still, thousands of years later, we're asking the same damn question. What do you know about it? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thank you for being patient with me, friends. James in Michigan. What's up, Salcedo Paranormal? How you doing tonight? Welcome to the joint. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, sounding fire and crispy as always. Welcome to the joints. Happy Sunday. Welcome back. And what is on your mind? There's a lot here to tackle, and there's a very big paranormal space here, a very big lane. So whatever you got, take it away, my man.
Well, first of all, I'm shocked. I mean, Mike, you got to have all the answers. Come on.
Hey.
Man.
Well, actually,
fun. All the answers here.
I know you're pulling my leg, but we'll do one of those shows again. Like James and I have done a couple shows in the past where we did the inversion of the inversion, and we were the answer guys that night. So we'll do that again because I thought it was a funny thing. So as we come into the Halloween season, maybe we'll reverse it and turn it on its head. And I will have all the answers, James, and so will you. Anyway, go ahead, sir.
Nice. Yeah, I know, and that's this is a great topic. I didn't get to look at the write up. As some people here know that were there, I was on another show at the time. So, but this is a great topic to me because it does connect so many things, out of body experiences, whatever ghosts or spirits or apparitions may be when people have experiences with them, places that feel like there's a energy or a sentience in a place, but you don't have any other experiences. It's just sort of a feeling that you get. Now, I know that in some cases that can be caused by natural phenomenon, but again, why can't it be all the things? In other words, yes, it is these different energies that the water or the stones or things are generating, and yet you still get a sense of that presence from a place. Is it all just the objects, or is there someone there or some consciousness there that is bigger than us? And I think these are all great topics within what you've been talking about here so far already.
Amen. And thank you for that. And fire ideas as well to get us kicked off. And look, I don't know, as usual, I think there's so much here that you really, I mean, it's easy to kind of wrap your mind around the idea that we are, sort of the consciousness space is built into us, into the body. Somebody passes and that's that. It's a wrap, right? That's the materialist view of the world. But then the other thing starts to get quite a bit more complicated. Is it the soul? Is it this maybe entanglement of consciousness on the larger scale? Is it, so many other things? And what about a fractured consciousness? We can certainly injure our body, but can we actually injure or fracture our conscious space or that divine spark within us? You know what I mean? So, and that's where the shaman of old kind of comes in to fix these things or whatever, ascertain what's happening to you and then give you, sort of a spiritual remedy instead of, chew on this, this root that will make you high and then come back tomorrow, take two of these and call me in the morning. But it is weird. It's a weird space to think about. And that's why I think it's incredibly important here to kind of wrestle that narrative away from what the scientific space would tell you. So a little bit of philosophy, a little bit of folklore, a little bit of James Salcedo, the paranormal expert of troubled minds, and some mix the idea together. And here we go. What else you got, man? Thanks for popping in here. You're the best.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, happy to sit in for this one as well. I'm also thinking something else we talk about a lot is where do ideas come from? And, because not that I'm sort of trying to be antagonistic toward science, just the idea of if it's all mechanical, then how does that explain? Oh, I had to echo there. Anyway, it's gone now. How does that explain the way ideas come to people? What mechanic exactly causes that? Because they don't always come to people all the time. These huge ideas that people have for projects or things that they want to do. It's not like usually, from what I've heard, there's just a steady stream of amazing idea after amazing idea that comes to people. Sometimes it's days or months or years in between when they get an idea for something that they want to do or an idea for a solution to a problem, and but then between that one and the next, it's just everyday life in between.
Yeah, exactly. And back to the idea of, so if consciousness isn't local, then where do ideas come from is what you're getting at here, I believe, is that, and that becomes a complicated thing because, are they our own? And I would say personally, not entirely. I think we're always inspired by something or somebody. And, every inspiration is sort of a ripoff of something previous that was inspiring. And not to say every art piece is ever ripped off throughout history, but you get the meaning. It kind of chases back the idea of the divine spark in humanity for us to create these things, to create these ideas, to push them forward. And I've kind of said this in the past in one way or another, but I remember directly saying something to the effect of that humans creating art is sort of screaming back to the cosmos and to the heavens and to the creator and suggesting that here we are. Listen to us and see us. We are beautiful and we are wonderful, and we can dream and we can be in this space and recognize you back. And please let this, marble art live forever in my name as a testament to that space. I don't know, just something I've kind of said in the past. I elaborated a little too much there on it, but you get the idea. And so what does it mean? Not just ideas, but what about the idea of inspiration into a marble sculpture or, a painting or a song or even a space like this, a talk show? I don't know. I think it's complicated and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we talked about and heard about people that get in that zone of when they're creating something where they barely feel like it's themselves? Well, is that because it's not just themselves? I've had experiences here and there with that over the years in some of the writing I've done over the years. And it's not constant. It's not all the time when I'm writing, but every so often a scene I'd be working on, it would just be playing like a movie in my mind. And I would barely be aware of my fingers touching the keyboard. And it sounds wild, but I'm sure anyone that's done any kind of work of any kind, been inspired by anything, has been in that zone at least for some amount of time in their lives, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, agreed. Almost as if it's being beamed in your head from some other place, from the Plato's allegory, the Plato's cave, except it's the veil from the muses and these other places where maybe these ideas are channeling directly and making it easy to create in the space. Fire stuff, James. We're just about out of time, but of course, glad to have you. If you're welcome, you're welcome to sit in, and appreciate you popping in here and slaying it right off the bat.
No, glad to be here. Looking forward to calls and seeing where this goes.
Amen. You know him, you love him. SalcidoParanormal.com, SALSIDO paranormal.com. James, of course, the host of Salcedo Paranormal. I'm going to try and smash 10 things into this at once, but basically, he runs the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet. Go check it out, salcedoparanormal.com. Tonight, we're talking, look, I'm calling this the world soul, or the empty copy. How do you see this? Do you think it's as complicated as I'm making it, or do you think it's very simple? As usual, nah, or whatever also plays, because I think these questions are above our pay grade. In any case, 702-857-6939. Be right back. More with James. We got the Robert on the line and a mystery caller on line 1. Not sure who it is, but we will take your calls when we return. Be right back. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. Catch you in just one moment on the other side of the break. Be right back.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Is anybody in there? Is anybody home?
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and of course 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird. It is what we do. I'm calling this the world soul, or the empty copy. Now, this is a question that goes back to literally the beginning of what it means to be human. Not just human. What about the consciousness of all life itself? It's complicated. This stuff is definitely complicated, and some of these ideas are, like I said, they're ancient. These things go back into mythology and folklore, and you could trace these things all over the world, and it's incredible that in 2026, with all the scientific advancements and knowledge we have, that we're almost no closer to answering any of the most fundamental, most difficult questions about life and consciousness itself. That's what it's about. I don't know. The idea of an NPC and this, which I didn't really I didn't know about this philosophical zombie. It came up as part of the research on this, but it is an actual philosophical term that they use based on the hard problem of consciousness itself, which, well, is complicated. What do you know about it? Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-857-6939. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Anything to add, James? And we'll go to the Roberts on the Discord. Welcome back.
Yeah, no, glad to be here, and just looking forward to all the calls.
Indeed. James is the man. Let's go. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link, as I said, at troubledminds.org, and we'll put you on here. Thanks, Robert, for raising your hand, and thanks for being here. Welcome. How are you tonight? Happy Sunday. And what do you know about consciousness and the hard problem of the philosophical space? Welcome, sir.
Well, I read your article.
Thank you.
And I was particularly curious about the idea of that the whole business of consciousness, the whole universe itself, whatever, is somebody's dream.
The sleeping God theory. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. I do love that. We've talked about that in the past in different ways, but yeah, it is an interesting thing because who would be the quote sleeping God as part of it? You know, small g God, because I'm not. If we're in not a base reality, then we don't even need the full power of the beginning. The one God, we could be in a sort of a subsection of a demigod dreaming, right? So, I mean, in the fractal idea of simulation theory, this certainly comes to mind, and I'm glad you brought it up because I may not have got to it if you didn't mention it.
Yeah, but I've got to wonder if what happens when that God wakes up.
It's a good question. Hopefully, it's a shared dream space. Yeah, go ahead.
And the dream vanishes. When he wakes up, he's not dreaming anymore.
Right. Unless, as I was going to say there, unless it's a shared dream space and maybe he hands it off to somebody else who continues the dream. And then we get Mandela effects spinning off the rails as has been reported.
Now, Michael, have you ever had a dream?
Oh, you bet your bippy. Yes, sir.
Would you hand that dream on to somebody else?
Would I, or have I that? So would I is an interesting one.
Would you do that? Could you?
Could you? Okay, so that's the thing. So if the dream space is persistent, then maybe I do without recognizing it. Maybe it does sort of just end up in somebody else's lap or dream space, and they kind of pick up where I left off in a fractal. Not necessarily exactly me and exactly the circumstances, but maybe something else happens, and it is a maybe dream handoff, and maybe we'll do a whole show on that because I love the idea.
Yeah. The thing about the brain being a receiver, I'm looking back at the terrible ancient, history of 40s and lobotomies, and they would take the frontal lobe off of a person who was having some reason having some kind of acting out episodes or something. And once that was removed, then you had a zombie.
Exactly, which I think becomes one of the more strange questions here. So if we have the ability of us to internalize or entangle consciousness in a larger cosmos, then as we were talking about with James, you can injure the body, but can you injure your singular consciousness or the entanglement thereof, or can your soul be injured? And I think the easy answer is yes. But what would the mechanism be? It starts to get complicated on how that works, how it can be healed, all kinds of other things as part of it, right?
Yeah, but if the soul is a body on its own and animates the flesh, I can't see how injury to the brain would affect that. Because if the body is animated by the soul, and not by the brain. Yeah, agreed. And the lobotomy freaks me out. Shout out Matt Sal there. Like that type of stuff is really strange because there have been also instances where people had massive brain injuries that like they removed a huge chunk of their brain and they didn't lose a single memory. Like they recovered and everything was fine. And, aside from the sort of grotesque scar in their head, they were
normal otherwise. So, I mean, I think it lends to the idea that there is something larger that we're tuning into instead of sort of the gray matter between your ears, packing the conscious idea or conscious space of who we are. Surely it helps, but is it exactly all of it? I have a hard time believing that.
I think I've often thought that as we get older and we hit our late senior years, that the soul starts to slowly separate itself from meat suit. And that's partly what brings on Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I wonder. I've been reading some stuff about that the science of sort of living forever recently. Not because I'm a sicko, hey, I'm perfectly willing to live the natural way. But
we all want you to live forever.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, you as well. Back at you. But I mean, there are some things that have been kind of tracked down that are damaging our own cells, damaging themselves, our DNA damaging itself, and they're tracking down what's causing these things. So once you can kind of at least stop it, maybe we stop aging entirely, and the idea of Alzheimer's becomes not just sort of a slippage of the soul. I like how you put that, but maybe something that can be frozen and reversed and stopped entirely. So, the mind and the body are kind of coming here into the space of what it means to be human and what it means to live forever. I don't know, man. It's scary stuff.
Well, if there's any truth to this idea that some alien race created us, and this alien race lives for hundreds and even thousands of years, but we don't. It's because they put a trigger in there, inside of us, inside our DNA, that causes us to age and eventually die. Now, if they can find where that trigger is, and they can flip it the other way, then all bets are off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The singularity has arrived 100%, and there's no going back at that. Have you ever seen that movie? The Shrinking Benjamin Button or whatever? You ever see that one?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it just kind of came to mind as part of this. But imagine if you could reverse aging. And in that case, he was born old and sort of aged until he was a baby backwards. And then, he met his demise as a baby, aging into like an infernal infancy, like where he came from. In any case, imagine that, but you could stop it. I don't know. It would be nice to be 30 again, but also the idea of an abomination comes to mind. Would we be human at all anymore?
I think that if you could go back and be 30 or 35 or whatever, or if you could regress aging and you stayed there, I think the world would be better off. But of course, you would have to have some situation like China does of limiting the amount of children you can have.
Yeah, well, I wonder if sort of the depopulation, degrowth movement is part of that. Maybe a pressure space to not have children for a varied batch of reasons, but then also to make space for the coming immortality. Because again, right, if everybody lives forever and people keep having babies, the planet will fill up pretty fast, won't it?
Yeah, then Musk will have his opportunity to start a whole new civilization on Mars.
Exactly right. And Titan and everywhere else in the cosmos.
And you got the other thing that is a fact. You have a disease where a baby is born and begins to age rapidly. I forget the name of that. Begins with a P. That's an actual fact. There is such a thing. And by the time they're in their 20s, they have the health and body of a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old, and of course they wither and die. Have you heard of that?
I have, actually. I'm looking up the term for it right now. But yeah, it's I've seen the pictures. They're horrifying. You get like a young person that's in their 20s and they look like they're literally 90 years old. Hutchison Gilford, HGPS, Hutchison Gilford progeria syndrome is what I get when I look at it.
Progeria, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. How about when the CIA gets a perfectly normal human being and brainwashes them into where they will just do what they tell them to do. Like, let's say, just on speculation, that they did with Sirhan Sirhan, all right? And he doesn't remember anything that he did any of that, all right? But does that make that person a zombie?
I wonder. So it is certainly an incursion into the vessel itself of your sovereignty. So I mean, I would guess more like a possession. I think possession is probably more pertinent to describe what that is, even if it's a scientific or drug induced thing. I think certainly the term possession really fits well there.
Sure. And then one last thing, and I'm thinking of ants. All right, ants are basically zombies. They're workers. They're worker insects. All right, all they do is run around and collect and do things. But do you think ants would have a conscience?
It's an interesting question. I would say yes, though sort of the hive mind consciousness really starts to beg the question there when you talk about bees and things like this as well. Have you seen like when the beehive, they're all on the outside of the beehive and then they sort of do this like sort of flutter. I can't remember what it's called, but they're all sort of like turn abdomen up and do like this ripple across the hive to make it look scary and alien and undulating and, to kind of draw predators off if something seems to be threatening. And you can't really describe how that comes into play other than maybe sort of a learned behavior from, generational, offspring passing on to parents to offspring. But beyond that, I mean, it seems like consciousness in a hive really becomes something else. It becomes more of this, scary insect space. And ants are a perfect example of that. Are they, I would say conscious, yes, but I think it would be, to us, it would sort of be an alien consciousness. Or maybe that's why humans are so crazy and we're always killing each other. I mean, maybe we should be more into that hive mind that we have kind of shut off. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but then you have AI. AI is basically being forming it into a hive mind.
Maybe
see that coming.
I think eventually it will get there. I don't think it's there yet. I think we're sort of regurgitating information from the internet, training these large language models, and so they're becoming similar in the way they sort of react and the ideas they have. I mean, politically and stuff, but. Beyond that, I don't know if there's going to be a emergence of that entire thing until literally super intelligence happens. And you get one of them with recursive self-improvement, runs off into the ether, and then just really kind of takes all the information into itself. But I would say not yet, but I think maybe you're onto something that maybe in the next 100 years this might happen.
Yeah. One thing that's off topic, and then I'll get off. There's a big lawsuit going on now. With Google and the slicing and dicing the books. You've heard of this?
Yeah, it's Anthropic actually. Maybe Google, maybe everybody's doing it. So there's a weird copyright law, just real quick so everybody understands what we're talking about, where if you buy a book from the publisher or from the reseller, you cannot copy it and whatever. But if you buy it secondhand, there's like this weird copyright loophole where you can sort of ingest the material and use it somehow. It's super strange. So Anthropic and Google and maybe many others are buying secondhand books, consuming them to train their AI models, and then destroying the books, which is very, very deeply, grotesquely Orwellian. But here we are.
Yeah, but before they started buying secondhand copies, they just started copying books for the AI, and from what I understand, it's like millions of books. And I'm wondering if Sausalito, his books was confiscated and used that way. Because if you're going to do 1 million books, you're going to do a lot of books. And there's this little thing I saw on the internet where you could plug in your book, right? Type it in there, and it'll find out whether or not it's part of it. It was done, and would be part of the suit. I recommend any writer that's listening in on Troubled Minds, they type their works into that website and find out if their books were confiscated by, what was the Google or who, whatever.
Anthropic of Claude.
Anthropic. Yeah, Anthropic, and then you'd be put in as a class action for that lawsuit. You should take a look at it.
I will see if I can get that website up and link it.
I wouldn't doubt for a moment that that his books were in there.
Yeah, and yours too, and everybody else. Like before they started doing the secondhand books and destroying them, they were just ripping them off the internet. They were stealing them, and that's 100%. I'll see if I can find that website and link it.
One thing I noticed, I put on Google, just for the heck of it, I asked Google's AI to give a synopsis of a few of my stories, and I was extremely impressed by their information about him. All right, and it made me think, how does he know that stuff?
They stole your books, Robert. They stole your books. That's how.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe they stole my books. I have to look.
They did.
All right, everybody. I'm going to get off and let somebody else get on here. But if you're a writer and you've published anything, you should check out that website and see whether or not they did that to you.
Hey, Ben, you were the best. Appreciate the call. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for being patient and all the rest. You were the man. The Roberts, you know him, you love him, a mentor of mine, a mentor of us all. Go check out his books. Speaking of writers and books and inspiring people, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down and just a little bit down to T for The Robert. You see it over there. That's his writer's name, his mentor name. Go check out his books. They're on Amazon. You can get them ordered tonight, probably get them tomorrow auto-magically. Thank you for the call. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, friends. Mystery caller number 1, you're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? And thanks for being patient. Go right ahead. Test 1, 2 on the phone line. You're on Troubled Minds. Are you there? Good evening. Good evening. Let's see. Let me make sure that everything is working properly. Let's see. I think I can do. Okay, I'm gonna put you on hold and go to this other caller behind you, and then we'll see if we can come back. We'll test the phone line. So hang tight. Putting you on hold. Stay right there. Be right back to get you if the phone line works. This might be my fault entirely. Sorry about that. Let's go to this other mystery caller number 2. You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? And go right ahead. Super duper. Anybody hear anything? I don't.
Nope.
Okay, hold on.
On Discord.
Okay, let me see here. Let me check. Okay. Secondary. I'm just checking the settings here real quick because here we go. This is how we test it, by the way. Did you hear that?
Yes.
And that?
Yes.
Okay, so it is working. It is properly routed up. So I'm not sure what's happening on the phone lines. So sorry about that. Are you there? Test 1, 2. Whoever's on the phone line, can you hear me? It's possible they just hung up because it doesn't notify me when they hang up. So all right, I'm gonna put this one on hold. Go back to the other one. And sorry about that. I'm Test 1, 2. You're on Troubled Minds. Are you there? Okay. So if anybody wants to help test the phone lines, let's do that. Sorry about that. I'm going to drop both of these calls. I apologize because you guys were waiting and all the rest. I'm sorry about that. Let me know in the chat if it was you, and we'll see if we can get you back on and talk about these ideas. I appreciate the interest. And great call from Robert there. Appreciate it very much. Anything, James, on what Robert said regarding the anthropic stuff? I think it's important to be able to synthesize ideas, but then also to outright steal them. It becomes problematic. And we don't even have to go there. We're talking consciousness tonight, but it is an interesting thing that he pointed out that's certainly happening right now this year.
Oh yeah, I heard about that whole thing I think even a couple of years ago that was happening. So I wouldn't doubt it. But yeah, the dreaming aspect and that to me is also fascinating. Handing off dreams, or people they're being that whole space of dreaming being some of their world itself, where you can sort of have multiple people in the same location, wherever that location is. we don't really know whether it's a metaphysical kind of place or not. To me, it's fascinating. I have two relatives that had a shared dream at the same time one morning and didn't find out about it until they got up and went to have breakfast and started talking and realized it afterward. I can tell that story when there's time as well later. But yeah, great call from Robert.
Yeah, 100%. And I do wonder too about that. It's one of the things that, I mean, you can't prove it, but I do wonder if that dream space is shared, if it's, a place we move into when we rest. And, we've done shows in the past where it's starting to encroach on the waking space as well. Like we can kind of communicate with the dream realm and not have to be in that deep sleep. So I don't know, man, it's complicated as hell. And that's the whole point of talking about these ideas, is because, look, maybe you have some insight that will lead to a larger modern folklore that will then become a scientific dalliance that maybe leads to a breakthrough. I mean, that's what this is all about, right? In the end, at least as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, thanks again for being patient, friends. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Whoever was on the phone line, call back. Thank you for that. Are you there? Test 1, 2. You're on Troubled Minds.
Hello, Mike. Can you hear me?
Jack in Oregon. Loud and clear, brother. Welcome. You're on with Mike and James. We got about 3 minutes or so for you. You're welcome to stay after the break. Thanks for calling back.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I like the, consciousness. It's really interesting. Kind of fits into my theory of boxes,
Indeed. 100%.
And, well, one thing that I think about consciousness quite a bit is like, have you ever noticed that maybe a certain area or place or city, peninsula, area of the Midwest, whatever, has its own kind of like vibe and consciousness of its own?
Yeah, it is weird. Called a genius loci, I believe, is the ancient Roman term for that, where there's a vibe and people feel it. Let me know, you guys. Let me know if you can hear him on Discord. But yeah, that is a fantastic way to look at this, because it might be regional entirely, which is strange, right?
Well, it's not only strange, but it's kind of obvious. I mean, you go to Florida in Miami or something, and then you go to maybe Russia or someplace like that, and well, it's very different, right?
Yeah, very different. There's no doubt about that. Or the coast or the mountains or whatever, yeah.
Also, I'd like to mention that, so when a person's a baby or a child, they're in that form, and they do that thing that babies and children do. When they turn into a teenager, that's like a totally different thing that they do. And when they become an adult, there's a totally different thing that they do, which is more adult-like, senior citizen, etc.
Yeah, which, how do you even define that? So our consciousness is changing within us. So I don't know, man. Like, I think that's the wonderful part about it, and why I talk about NPCs as they are, and in this particular space changing. Maybe you grow out of it. Maybe you're stunted in the consciousness space, and you kind of just pop out of it like a second birth in humanity. Your brain is fully formed or whatever. Well said. I like that.
Well, you're talking about something that's like outside of yourself, so that's why I'm saying this. So maybe like, okay, so there used to be apprentices back in the day. So let's say you go through the baby stage, and you go through the teenage stage, and then you get to be an adult, and then you get apprenticed. You're going to do this thing like for the rest of your life. And that's what being adult kind of is, right?
Yeah, adulting is hard, as they say.
Well, no, I'm just saying that the consciousness isn't in you. It's in your teacher or the area that you're at or whatever you're doing is what you have to adapt to and be.
I see. Which is sort of a nature's propaganda space that draws us to that idea anyway. I love that.
Well, it's probably been forever, and really makes being human like worthwhile, I think, in my opinion.
Amen. The fractal, the wide and varied ways we can experience humanity, and we only have so much time. That's the tragic part of it, is that many of us will not get to experience different slices. You know, you're up in Oregon there. Beautiful. I love the Pacific Northwest. It is absolutely gorgeous. I wouldn't live there, but it's one of the most beautiful places in the world to visit, and you're lucky enough to live there. So yeah, and experience life differently, entirely different. That genius loci of the land itself, 100%.
Or the desert. I've been to the desert. That has its own like personality for sure. What I'm talking about is, so you're you observing the universe, but what's outside of you determines who you are.
Right. Certainly in part. I agree with you 100% there.
Anyway, so you're coming up on a break?
Yeah, so if you want to hang tight, I'll put you on hold and come back to you, or you tell me.
Yeah, go ahead and put me on hold. That'd be great.
Be right back. We got more coming from Jack. I appreciate the call. Thanks for calling back, and thanks for understanding the phone lines are wobbly, inconsistent. When you have a Windows update, it changes inputs and stuff automatically. So yeah. Anyway, 702-857-6939. Jack in Oregon on the line. We'll get right back to him. We got more from James coming up. Derek the Nightstocker on your calls as well. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Do not go anywhere. We'll just play the quick news and catch you guys on the other side of the break. Be right back. More with Jack coming up and your calls as well.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. Yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. All the places, all the things. Troubledminds.org is where you find all the information, or if you're into the radio station and looking into that and some of the other folks that are part of it, KUAPDB.com. Tonight, we're talking about consciousness. A wild new paper claims human brain doesn't produce consciousness. Another paper coming out just a couple days away from each other. Consciousness leaves a paper trail, meaning, what if our puzzlement about consciousness is itself a clue? Yeah, the hard problem of consciousness is what they call it in philosophy. But beyond that, there's certainly a lot of metaphysical spaces. There's the religious aspect to this. It's complicated. And the genius loci of maybe the environment affecting how maybe you tune your consciousness in, as we were talking about with Jack in Oregon, which we're going to get back to in just a second. But that's the point. This is wide and varied. It goes back thousands of years. And the question really becomes, which is it? Is it both? Could it be both? And of course, you know me, and the question I love to ask, how weird does it get? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Jack in Oregon, welcome back. Thanks for being patient. All yours, my man. You're explaining fantastically how geographically it might affect us entirely. Welcome back.
Right, and just to add on to that, it gets really weird, really weird.
I couldn't agree more. That's why I talk about this stuff.
Yeah. So, what I'd like to briefly get into is that, George Orwell and Newspeak and all that stuff. Well, there's no substitute for AI in our lexicon of language, and due to that fact, I have to figure that it's like a trigger word. Basically what I'd like to say is that, intelligence is intelligence. Unintelligence is unintelligence, right?
Agreed. And super intelligence is super intelligence. Agreed.
Oh yeah. And like, I got that in my back pocket for sure.
Yeah, me too. You and me both.
Oh, I got it. Right. So, but we're limited. We're all limited. All animals on the planet are limited by clock speed, right?
Yes.
This is something that we can observe. Chipmunks, they like move around real fast and everything, and they're doing this and that, and like in a blink of an eye, they're over there, and then they're over there. But that's just like regular speed for them. They're not going fast at all. And insects, whatever. Elephants move really slow. They can't move like a chipmunk, right? Well, AI has another. Silicon has another clock speed that has a dial that can go up or down, like really, really slow or really, really fast.
Yeah, well said. And we are sort of locked into these spaces. You're right. There's, sort of the scale of how large we are. The viruses of the world move incredibly quickly. Think about how quickly like a true virality happens, not just sort of on the internet, but in the space of catching a cold or something, with the R naught value being very susceptible to just moving through a population with the snap of a finger. So that level of speed and that level of size, certainly you're right. We're locked into different clocks depending on what consciousness we inhabit. And I think it's an actual literal novel way to look at this. And I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, you could program a computer to do a trigger or whatever every 10 years to affect things, every 100 years to affect things, every 1,000 years to affect things, or every billionth of a second to affect things. So where does that put us?
We're like slow lumbering giants in that space. We can't even keep up to even think about how quick that is.
Well, back to Benjamin Button's, I just got myself a motorcycle. The speedometer goes up to 160. Why is that? I'm like 50 years old. It's when 150, it just isn't good enough when you're going to work.
Slow down, please. Slow down, sir.
I'm just saying. That's one thing maybe a computer can't do, or an insect.
Correct. Yes. It is fantastic to point that out, that there are different sort of time slices here. And when you talk about sort of we're locked into space time, I think that is true. And I do wonder if there is ways to overcome it somehow and operate your sort of mental clock speed to where we could be sort of like those, not the zombie, this slow lumbering zombie that wants to eat your brains, but the zombies from World War Z that were like in hyperspeed climbing over walls and stuff. Kind of crazy style. I don't know. It's a great way to look at this. And again, Fire Take, appreciate you.
Well, the reassuring thing is that we wake up each day. We're in a fairly, relatively, hopefully, like good environment. Got our loved ones. We, all of that stuff. That's kind of pushes all that, scary stuff or whatever off to the side. It's very reassuring that, we breathe oxygen and that kind of thing. One of my latest, endeavors, like things I think about is like addiction and how that affects consciousness.
That actually is a great way to look at this when you talk about sort of damaging the soul somehow. I think that's probably a very pertinent way that it sticks in your brain. It's a loop you can't break, and then it starts to poison the rest of you, and then including you spiritually. So that's another great way to put it, man. You were on the game tonight.
It's the weak point. It's what everybody exploits is our addictions, and everybody's addicted to something, it appears. And I don't know. That's basically it.
Amen. I'm addicted to wild ideas and amazing friends that bring wild ideas to us. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much.
I know that.
Yeah, I know you know. Thank you for supporting the show. Appreciate that. The Stoic Minute brought to you by this Jack in Oregon. Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling back. Thanks for understanding that technology is weird sometimes, and always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. You have a great night.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. There you go. Simple as that. So the phone line does work. So whoever called first, if you did hang up and we didn't get you, call back and we'll put you on. Sorry about that. Smashing buttons, doing things. That's the way this works sometimes. Like I said, a Windows reset sometimes will change all this stuff and it breaks. But anyway, we're back. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troublewines.org. Derek the Nightstocker coming up. James, anything to add to what Jack said there? And then we'll go to Derek. Appreciate you guys being patient.
The places in nature being sentient, the mountains being aware and living, basically creatures made of living material that is part of the land. I mean, that's all over folklore mythology. And so if those ideas are from that far back, then what were they based on? Maybe that's something tied to what we're talking about here tonight.
Yeah, maybe. And sorry about that. I switched it back. I think James wasn't coming through the stream there for a couple words, but I got it. I'm live routing audio. Don't ever do it. I don't recommend it. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Derek in Massachusetts, the Nightstocker. What's up, brother? Welcome back. Glad to hear your voice. How you doing tonight? And what do you got? I mean, the hard problem of consciousness is one of those things that we've talked about often, but clearly now these two papers kind of diametrically opposed on how to look at this are interesting. And we seem to be, and Jack actually bringing up some Slayer ideas there too. I don't know. What's your take on this? It's so complicated. It's so wide and varied and wide open to interpretation. I love to hear what everybody's got, and welcome back. Appreciate you being here. Go ahead.
Test it quick. I have a perfect internet, and then all of a sudden I got a little warbly. But can you hear me also?
Yep, loud and clear. You sound fantastic. Yep.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, great show. Weird stuff. I kind of just puked a bunch of stuff into my notes, so we'll see if I can get through any of it and stuff. But it was weird, kind of the syncs that were happening as I was writing down, and then as you guys were talking. First, just as far as the empty husk part of it, the zombie part of it, the hollowness of everything. That, I mean, besides they're trying to open portals to let in Cthulhu, or they're trying to collapse the pillars of reality to let in the old gods or whatever. They're trying to hollow us out to create a bunch of empty husks and empty vessels that are ready for possession. It's probably the number two of my favorite, not favorite, but the thing I talk about the most as far as like the dark, creepy conspiracies. So just one of the first things that popped in my mind, but I won't really go down that lane. But just the idea that the MK Ultra for us all that we always talk about in the show, the constant trauma, all this kind of stuff. They're trying to make us disassociate. They're trying to make us hollow and stuff. And there's all kind of different reasons for that. But I think it's paranormally, like all that kind of stuff. So the empty husk feeling might be because they are trying to actively empty us out to implant something else, so something else can walk in there. But then I guess talking about the idea of the radio, if consciousness is not, if consciousness is primary, it's everywhere, and we're each of us is like that dark side of the moon triangle and stuff, and we're just filtering consciousness, or we're a radio receiving consciousness and tuning into it and stuff. So I wrote a bunch of stuff down about how maybe it's more like a tuning fork, and I said that because recently, like when I was driving on the show, I was like, I wonder what the show's going to be tonight. I'm like, what have I been thinking about, like woo-woo-ness wise, that could possibly tie into anything. And I was like, this weird hive mind thing I was thinking about the other day. Just like I kind of brushed it off, like I don't know how that's going to fit into anything. And then I did the tuning fork. I started writing down these notes about the tuning fork, which I'll get into in a second. Sorry. And then all of a sudden you guys started talking about the hive mind. So I'm like, it's syncs on syncs. But so like I had gone far as to be like, so like I'd searched like, do like ants and bees have a pineal gland the other day? Like what if that fall we had potentially, I won't get into this whole thing, is because we used to be like a collective. It's not that like we were fifth dimensional or we had all these powers and we were like floating around the stones in Egypt, which could be possible to build the pyramids and stuff. But what if we were just like super efficient because we were like a bunch of ants and the way they build, or a bunch of bees and the way they can build a hive and stuff. We were like all just like the Borg, maybe a good version of that or whatever, but just all a hive mind. And then the fall from that, or that could be what the Tower of Babel is trying to talk about, and that like maybe the hive got too big for its britches and like the beekeeper decided to shadow the hive a little bit, something like that. And we all kind of went in our own disparate ways, but we still have this kind of longing to get back together. Or, I mean, I think that's probably the trajectory. I think that's, we won't get into all this, but I think that's basically what consciousness is. It's the one experiencing infinite, and then infinity trying to go back to the one or whatever, basically. But what if, in this case, it's that we used to be a hive mind, that things out there are just have some kind of, like, that's what the collective consciousness is. That's what the feeling in the back of your neck when somebody's looking at you, that type of stuff is. But it's also like the Masons are obsessed with bees. There's a lot of bee imagery. Like maybe they know that they work, like we have some kind of hive origins and stuff, and they're able to manipulate the masses because they know of this like hive lingering, like not a reptile brain inside of us, but like a bee brain where we can be easily manipulated because our natural state is to be part of a collective potentially. but we also have like a urge to collaborate, like with each other, like with friends, all that kind of stuff, or falling in love, or intimacy, friendship, or like going to a sports game, or we talk about going to the movies and seeing a comedy and laughing harder, or like riots, and people can like, you do things you wouldn't do on your own because you're with people and stuff. That like we seem to be longing for connection is kind of the commonality between all of that. Like a hunger for connection, but possibly because that's what we used to be, whatever. But also we kind of have this weird fear that pops up in a lot of pop culture and sci-fi and all that kind of stuff of just being a mindless drone too, like the negative aspects of it. So like a longing for connection, but just like a fear of being a mindless drone type of thing. I'm rambling, but just that's weird how that all happened, you know?
Yeah, totally. The fear of too much connection, right? Too much connection means you're not in control at all. It's whatever is happening. I love how you brought in the Tower of Babel there. Like, if anybody's out there read Anne Rice and the Vampires, there's this weird dichotomy where the vampires can read other people's minds. They can read people's minds, but if they make that person, the mortal, a vampire, then they are no longer able to read their mind. There's a block. And so it's sort of this telepathy level communication that happens. But the second they succumb to creating another immortal, they are no longer able to communicate in that Tower of Babel way, as I'm describing here, of the hive mind, because you can't just bounce ideas around literally in a telepathy aspect. And this is fiction, so everybody relax. We're talking conceptually here, but you get what I'm saying. Suddenly, if the Tower of Babel gets broken down and that hive mind is no longer absolute, then here we are, you and me across the country, look very much of the same, cut from the same cloth in a lot of ways, looking at these wild ideas, kind of trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But we're still very different and can't actually read each other's minds. I mean, maybe me and you a little more than most people, but even, but even so beyond that, there's certainly a block. There's a block there. And I wonder if maybe in the primordial space we came from, it was a little more free flow, easier to recognize that. And the Tower of Babel is an apt way to put it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Is there anybody behind me? I want to make sure how rushed.
Cramos just put his hand up, so if you got you got the rest of the segment, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I'll skip these things. But yes, as far as like the empty husting, so sorry, I'm trying to check out my notes. I've always kind of like felt, I have like a fascination with kind of like how other people think, because I wonder if like, am I thinking wrong, or like I'm trying to play. I'm not diagnosed with autism or anything like that, but just when autistic people say like, I always feel like I'm trying to play catch up and I never understand, I don't have the playbook that everyone else has. I feel like does everyone feel like that? Because I definitely feel like that and stuff. And I think some things I am good at. I am really good socially, and I am like, I have a good like media literacy, and I have a lot of these skills that really pre-Hollywood or pre like mass media you really wouldn't need at all that much, or like they wouldn't really be as prevalent at all. And I lack, and I'm 36 years old and I live at home still, so I lack a lot of important things, and like people, and like things that like in high school, people that I would have considered to be an NPC, we didn't use that term at the time, and kind of just we're more mindless drones and stuff, or just like I don't know, like just bumpkins or whatever, like lumpkins, it's a British term for it or whatever. Nowadays, like they're much more successful than me. They're married. They have. I see them on Facebook and stuff, and I was like, what don't I understand? What don't I get that they get? Like how? Like I wish I could just fall. Like I've only had one job. I don't understand what people do at work and stuff. I don't understand. Like I don't know. And I feel like a lot of that is like I've prioritized these media like things that aren't necessarily the same skills you need to like save money, And I think I'm saying this only because culturally, I think that's also happening and stuff, that like we're kind of this ship of Theseus type thing where like there's a pre and post internet. We always talk about internet natives and stuff, but I wonder if there's a equally important pre and post media or Hollywood and stuff. And Hollywood's obviously important because I think we talk about the reality could be shaped by the expectations and stuff, and imagination could be the most important thing and everything. But like I think a lot of problems and depression people are dealing with because their expectations in life haven't met these things, that these like a reality that they believe is real because they've grown up with it. That like the idea of like thinking you're on a sitcom or being like understanding like 50 years of like TV shows, but not understanding how to talk to people is something that movies have been commenting on for 30 years at this point now. So that's nothing new. But it's just like we've kind of replaced a lot of the important human thing, or just reality. We don't know what base reality is anymore, and we're kind of creating the ship of Theseus. And as it's happening, like as the pieces are being changed, does the ship understand that it's changing? That's happening, or is it like WandaVision, where all of a sudden you end up with a completely different version of vision, and they got to try to talk to each other to figure out which is the right one? But like, that's if you're using all of the right pieces. If you're just changing it with new pieces. But what if those pieces become artificial? Do you notice that like, this new ship I'm turning into is a little less organic than it should be, or it feels a little wonky, or they're cutting some corners here with the paste that they're using to piece me together. Like, this is the kind of material using. It seems a little shoddy and stuff. But also, like, what if kind of they're just, I don't know, they're like my mom still thinks it's 1997. There's people who still think it's 1982. There's people who still think it's 1955. Then America is going to lose its first world status, I think, 30 years before people realize that happened, because they're watching too much TV, and the TV tells us we're number one, but the roads are terrible. All these things that we're completely off kilter as far as what is real and what is the media, which I'm blanking on the definition of media, but it's basically just a facade. It's like it's a golem of reality. It's not the actual thing, And I wonder if so much time of this has been spent, like, are we just forgetting what is this like? I don't know. That's the only way I can like understand people's behavior and stuff, that people prioritize. Now it's like getting even crazier because of social media. It's like ramped up to a crazy extent where people are just prioritizing likes and everything over any kind of reality. People can't even talk to each other because they don't know how to talk online. I'm rambling, but does that make sense?
No, yeah, it makes sense. And I think when you look at that, and just to back to what you said, like, you're like, everybody's got to figure it out and whatnot. I read this thing earlier, and it stuck hard. Andrew Yang on X, I didn't pull it out because I didn't know it was going to come up, but he said yesterday or today or whatever that in America, it's becoming increasingly difficult to become successful. You have to be incredibly remarkable or incredibly lucky. And so suddenly we're having the haves and have-nots run in different directions. And look, there's a lot of us that are incredible. Look, that are very smart people, that are very highly motivated to succeed. And for whatever reason, there's all these barriers in place that really don't allow it. You need to be connected. You need to, to be exactly the right way socially. You need to, have a little streak of a sociopath in you so you can, overcharge people in a business. You know what I mean? Instead of, kind of helping people. I mean, like, it's all there. It's just you kind of really have to be, again, remarkable or incredibly lucky. And it's difficult. So I mean, for you, look, for myself, I'm 51 now. And I am nowhere near where I thought I would be at this age. I thought I'd be on a yacht, retired, got tons of money, with none of the above, right? And so I think it's all relative, but also you're making a great point that it's becoming more and more difficult to succeed in a world where people can't even talk to each other anymore. Like, how do you sell, I don't know, cookies to a millennial? I don't know. Hell if I know. I mean, and that's just one example. Now make that a fractal, and we can't even talk to each other, as you said. It's difficult. I'll leave it at that. What else you got?
If Cramos doesn't mind, can I hang on another few minutes after the break?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Hang tight, Cramos. We'll get to you. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there was this reel today popped up, let me go back to my notes. So, like, I feel like for people who say that The Simpsons is their favorite show of all time, or like is the number one show ever, and they're usually like 8 to 10 years older than me. I was born the year The Simpsons came out. My mom didn't let me watch The Simpsons growing up, so I didn't like hop on to like the movie. And people consider after the first, once the movie happens 18 years ago or whatever, the ship has sailed. The Simpsons is no longer good. But I feel like the generation before, or the 10 years before me, the ones who really love The Simpsons, those people are some of my favorite people. I think they're super funny, and they're super smart, and they're very, very like just literate. They get all the references you make and stuff. And And I think that's because it was created by a bunch of like really smart people who were consuming. They were like made by people who grew up in the 60s and 70s, and everybody's culture was consuming all the same thing. They had all the same talking points, 3 channels and stuff. They were able to talk about things that they had common touchstones. I call it the monoculture stuff, it's called the monoculture. Common touchstones that even if they didn't like it, like Little House on the Prairie, oh, we got to watch that every day because it was just the only thing on or whatever. They can make these jokes. They can joke about, and like you fast forward to 1991 or whatever, you get Reality Bites. That whole movie, the whole way Gen X is communicating is via game show references and just commercial references and stuff or whatever. And I watched a video today about like, how do you, if you want to buy a BMW in 28 days, this is how you do it. Go to a YouTube. The highest rated, the highest viewed count children's animation. Like copy the title of it or whatever. Put it into AI. Figure all these prompts. Put the prompts into the art generation. Have it basically in 10 minutes. Crank out this video and give it to these kids and stuff. And I'm just like, damn, that's what I mean by the ship of Theseus thing. Like people growing up on the Simpsons, getting 50 years of pop culture references came from their throat as an 8-year-old, going to grow up to be much more, I don't know, different than somebody who's getting his AI slop shoved down their throat because people want to just make up slop content and stuff. You know what I mean? That like are getting back to the middles, becoming harder and harder to do. I'm like, that makes sense? Does that metaphor make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're out of time. Sorry.
Yeah, you're all good. You're all good. Hey, okay, stay right there. We're going to get right back with you. I appreciate you being patient with all the process here. Be right back with Derek the Nightstocker. More from James. We got Cramos coming up in your calls as well. We're talking, look, I'm calling this the world soul or the empty copy. How does it sit with you? Like I said, when I say the term the meat suit experience, it rubs myself the wrong way. So I'm surely I'm not surely. My name's Mike, but I'm sure it's probably rubbing some of you the wrong way as well. Anyway, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at TroubledMinds.org. Be right back. More with Derek coming up. We got James, we got Cramos, and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. We are doing just one show a week, so we will go a little bit late if you guys want to call and get in here. Please understand, like I said, there's a lot going on with my life, and I'm not going to spill all the deets, but trust me when I say things aren't always easy. They don't seem as easy as they look, okay? So be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Don't go anywhere. More from Derek, more from James. We got Cramos and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. Be right back.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Three pounds of matter, dreaming in the dark. A radio tuned to a distant spark. The stars pour in where a face should be. The whole wide universe stares back at me. World soul, empty copy. Nobody home behind.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird. So I'm calling this the world soul, or the empty copy. Now, is consciousness local, or is consciousness cosmic? Do we tune into it like a radio? Yeah, I don't know. I think this is complicated stuff, but I think it is one of the questions of our time. And when we talk about non-human intelligence, many want to talk about aliens from Alpha Centauri or whatever. I'm of a different mind. I wonder about non-human intelligence being sort of a cosmic antenna that we're always tied into, that's always tied into us. And maybe it's why we're so befuddlingly complicated as human beings. I don't know. Love to hear your thoughts as usual. Appreciate everybody being patient with the process here. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at TroubledMinds.org. James, anything to add real quick, and then we'll go to Derek. And appreciate you guys, your patience and everything else.
Well, just great calls from everyone so far. I did want to say what Derek was talking about. You were talking about earlier, Derek. I'm sorry about that. My device is going off here, but you might not have even heard it because that's how technology is. Anyway, the whole thing with shows and ideas, and it's amazing how sometimes I've been part of shows or done shows before, and then come into this show, hear about the topic for this show, and we're talking about similar things, and we didn't plan it. I mean, how often has that happened with us? Probably too many times for me to count. So
many times,
yeah.
Time and
it's
again.
all fascinating when it happens.
Time and again, and Derek has a special splash of magic. I don't know, like it's weird. He shows up and the synchronicities like multiply. So, welcome back. Like I say, fantastic to hear your voice. Go ahead. Sorry to cut you off there. Whatever you got, go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'll try to be quick. I just felt like I was going to be leaving too much and kicking myself if I only got that out before. I shouldn't be able to do it in less time. I'm sorry. But just one thing I edited out was that when you were talking about Anne Rice, as far as synchronicity is concerned, before I left the house, I was like often when I'm watching stuff, it'll end up applying to the show that night somehow or whatever, or at least it'll come up in my call somehow. And I thought like I'm going to switch it to some alien show and let's see if it applies to tonight. Like not like let's try to prove something. Just like I've been out of it. Let me get my brain working more in this mode. And I go to turn it on and Netflix crashes on my computer real quick. And then so I put it back up on my TV. So I put it back up and then instead of going that, I hit Telemasca, the Anne Rice show just got added to Netflix. So it was the top of the banner. So I'm like, sure, why not? Like, I wonder if it's going to pop up. I know Mike is a fan of Anne Rice. I listened to the first 20 minutes or I watched the first 20 minutes and it's a person using telekinesis or using mind reading in order to get a job in a job interview. That's how it opens. And then I turned it off and I took a shower and came to work. And you're talking about mind reading and Anne Rice. That's just an example of what James is talking about.
Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely crazy. And like I said, when you show up, man, there's a I think when Neo flexes in the Matrix and it goes, boom, I think there's something with you, bro. Like you got a special tune into the whatever the hell is happening out there. Don't let it go to your head. But
no.
I'm just saying.
You lay it out. I can't do it without It's a combination of all. It's the tuning fork idea. I won't put that part of my notes, but I got a big thing before you guys mentioned the hive mind about how like we're tuning to stuff. It's not just we're receiving or we're. I mean, you mentioned it a bunch of times after that it's more a tuning fork thing, and maybe the zeitgeist or the spirit of the times, or the spirit of '76 or the American dream, or these kind of things is like the tune that we're all resonating to. And people use that term resonating or getting the vibe and that type of stuff. So it's less about just picking up a signal and more so maybe picking up a signal and then aligning to these signals and you were tuning as you tune to it, people tune to you and stuff. So that's kind of how a collective consciousness I think could work. Everyone kind of matters and stuff. But as far as like the whole Simpsons thing, I was rambling about that, but just the idea of like that's the pastiche nature of it. And kind of how it's like fulfilling, and it's like the fruit of that combined. Like the early Simpsons is legendary because it's riffing. It's a bunch of people who like late Simpsons gets criticized because they're just Simpsons fans, so they're doing Simpsons jokes and they're telling Simpsons stories. But early Simpsons, again, I'm not Simpsons. This is just the story of the Simpsons. Early Simpsons is just a bunch of Harvard guys, Conan O'Brien and stuff, who are just super media literate, and we're all watching the same shows for the last 20 years and stuff. Had a bunch of and we're well read. So you get a bunch of like literary jokes, a bunch of pop culture jokes, it's a pastiche of everything before it, and it was like rewarding and stuff. And then the thing about how are kids going, like the people, what kids are going to be consuming now is this AI slop, and it's kind of the end of that like really shoddy ship of Theseus and stuff. That's what they're going to be filtering through. This like kind of they're going to be pastiching this empty husk instead of like pastiching, which I think is we call it synthesis all the time in the show, but just combining cool stuff together and making something new that's cool, which I think is all art essentially. Just people don't want to admit it pretty much, but George Lucas, Star Wars is pastiche. Everything is all of it, influences and stuff. Now the influences, and for a while these influences have been artificial influences, like now literally artificial AI influences and just AI flop and brain rot. Generations are going to be dealing with this stuff. Like there's already nightmare stories of what ChatGPT is doing to kids in school and stuff, yada yada. But just like it used to be media and pop culture and stuff was a zeitgeist or whatever, was the shadow on the wall. But now people have, like, after a few decades, forgot that's the shadow and think that's the real thing. And that's why I'm proud of myself. It was like, I feel like as a youth or whatever, school kind of came easy. So I prioritized social things. And I didn't prioritize, like, saving money or I don't know, learning the basics. I wish I had, like, a mentor, and that could be, like, part of this thing. I think that, like, people are now, their mentor is the news feed, and that's algorithmic brain rot stuff. That's just trying to suck the worst out of you. That's hate clicks and stuff. And I think a generation bred on that, we're getting farther and farther. The husk is getting emptier and emptier. The zombie is getting more and more undead, And I'll leave with this. This is the real reason why I wanted to say. There's a concept. I just listened to a Chuck Klosterman book. He's just a pop culture guy. He comes on my pop culture show sometimes. And if you ever watched any of those VH1 top 100 rock shows from the early 2000s, you'd recognize him. But he references Mark Fisher's slow cancellation of the future. And just to save myself time, I asked the AI to summarize it for me so I could, I knew it was going to be rambly. The slow cancellation of the future is Mark Fisher's idea that culture stopped producing genuinely new futures and got stuck looping, cycling, and mourning past versions of the future, what the future was supposed to be. And he talks about this in relation to time, why the difference between 1950 and 1970 seems like such a gap. If you were to play Nirvana to somebody in the 70s, they would think it's like Marty McFly trying to play 80s metal to the 50s. Like, you guys aren't ready for that yet. But basically his point is, like, after 2000 or after a certain amount of, like, media, like, just living in the media or the internet, like, specifically, that now, like, everything is, like, kind of become flat or become, like, rather than being like, it's, if you were to play any song, like a song from 2026 to somebody in 2001, it would not be as different as playing somebody from 75 to 65. That would be much, like, there's a slow cancellation of the future. The time is flattening out. But I think it's also, he talks about that pastiche aspect of it, that there was, like, and he says, like, this is why reboots and remakes and all this stuff, everything seems kind of hollow, whatever. But at one point, this pastiche is cool. Pastiche made Star Wars. Pastiche made Simpsons. Like, it's a rewarding thing. Like, collecting inspiration. I think it's good. It's rewarding. But now we're pastiching so much fake stuff. People have just so much. Like, I'm a 90s kid, so I have just commercials. I have nostalgia for ads and everything. And I can't imagine what kids Gen Alpha is going to be nostalgic for. Like, they're gonna I don't know. It's gonna be nostalgic for AI slop. Is there going to be a kid who you can't separate whether you're watching Little Bluey or whatever that show is versus that AI cartoon that girl made in 15 minutes on that reel, like, it's all just going to be the same. So, like, I think just ship of Theseus style, filtering in more fake stuff. So then the shadow cast on the walls is faker and faker, and we don't even realize it's a shadow. I'm getting lost in my metaphor, but the slow cancellation of the future, like, he says a word here. Sorry, I lost it in my notes, but it basically ties. It's basically another way of saying what he's saying with this empty husk and the zombie and stuff. That something's gone wrong, and that we've realized that we're living in the I don't know, like the sprinkles, and forgot that there's a Sunday under there somehow. That's a bad metaphor. I'm rambling. Took too long. Sorry, Cramos. Thank you for being patient. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. Fire stuff. I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much. We love him, Derek the Nightstocker. That makes sense. Sorry. Yeah. So okay, so it's like the fractal of the things we've been talking about is that in the old days, we would all sing Bon Jovi, "Living on a Prayer," right? And everybody knew it. And now suddenly, the songs, there's a chat going on over there on Rumble, and they're talking about how music has kind of changed, it's lost its soul, all kinds of things. And then AI music is now suddenly that's fractal. You can't even bond over music anymore because the thing that you really love, the gem you found, may have been some obscure AI thing nobody else has ever heard of in all of humanity. And so suddenly this is how we're supposed to connect. I mean, we can't. Yeah. We have to literally spend extra time that we spend different from each other and try and share those moments where we have shorter and shorter attention spans and shorter patience when it comes to that type of stuff. Back in the day, a mixtape could, like, spark a romance that lasted forever. Now a mixtape is like, what the hell is this? And what am I listening to? Right. I mean, that's the point. And so you made a great point. I agree.
Yeah. And that mixtape could be your personality for that year, whatever. These 12 songs, this is who I am for that moment or whatever. That in itself is a little bit of a prestige, taking this and this and this and making something cool and new. And for forever, it's been, art has been coming in different directions and coming out as new art. And now we have so long of like, just marketing is coming in, and fake stuff is coming in, and things designed to just get us to click or get us to buy or get us to feel bad if we don't have this thing. Like generations of like an engagement ring and white picket fence. So now like my younger sister who's not married yet her clock's really ticking because of the media expectations and stuff. I don't know, now so much like rather than art going in and art coming out, it's fake going in, empty husk on the outside. I don't know. I tried to put a bow on it, but thank you guys. Sorry.
No, you're the best. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for calling and glad to have you back. Derek the Nightstocker, you know, we love him. Do the thing, troubledminds.org/friends. Click the friends link on the website. Scroll down just a little bit, and it's alphabetical. Follow Nightstocker. It's under N right there, right above my head. You can see it. Go follow his YouTube channel. Thanks for the mods out there that have been pitting and sharing his channel. That's the point. Look, let's I'll go follow him and inspire him to do more content because he's brilliant, obviously. Like I said, our cup runneth over. We are blessed with so many brilliant friends that can see the world in so many different ways. And you recognize that's a strength. That is not something that holds you back. It's incredibly important to be able to see multiple angles and then talk about them. That's the whole point. James, anything to add? We'll go to Cramos. Thanks for being patient, friends.
Yeah, no, just great call. Great to hear from Derek as always. It reminded me a lot of like the way over the years in video games, you know, when companies would put out devices, they would also put out like different versions of the same device with a different image on it, you know, for different games. And it's still the same thing. It just has a different image on it. And it just, I don't know, that in my mind, that's where my brain went, was this whole thing where now people have to buy like 2 or 3 or 4 of the same device just for the image on the device. And it just always drove me crazy. But yeah, great call so far. Looking forward to the rest.
Yeah, and it gets worse and worse. Like that's one example, and the examples just keeps like literally are spreading apart from each other in terms of how humans connect. It's really difficult. Wait till the sex robots come out. I know it's an uncomfortable space there for you, James. I don't want to comment, but I'm just saying, like generally, and I made this joke, right? The first reliable robot hand job will change the world, and I don't mean it in a good way. Okay, so we are heading toward this space where human connection is being put to bed. Fred's laughing. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Cramos, thanks for being patient, brother. He did say in the chat there, he's, of course, take your time, guys. Thanks for being patient, bro. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Welcome, and how are you? Go right ahead.
Hello, Michael, James, everyone. How are you? How is your family?
My family is great. Thank you for asking. I hope yours is well as well. Thank you. And what's on your mind? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, I came here tonight because it's a topic that resounds to me because we are very sad. We lost one of our dogs, and I'm going to explain my point of view on the topic with that sad experience, because consciousness is the only value, treasure that humans have. And if you don't cultivate consciousness, you will be under a very harmful and a very evil belief system. So in my belief system, we lost the body of matter of our dog, not our dog, because that's the reason why I don't believe in death as a concept of vanish of existence. Just I believe in death as the death of matter. So my dog will be always alive because we are going to be always conscious about the dog. So to finish my point, I'm gonna explain some concepts that I believe in, and it's about in Vaishnavism. They have the concept of Paramatma, and Paramatma is the presence of the universal energy, God, inside every atom of matter and in between the space between every atom of matter. So consciousness for me is the presence of God, because no one, nothing can contaminate my consciousness. I don't know if you have an opinion about we are eternal. In my opinion, in my belief system, we are eternal, and we will be here until we find our way back to be with God forever.
Yeah, I think when you look at sort of theology going back forever, this has been the question. Like, are we eternal? Is there the eternal soul? And I would say, look, I think you can have, at this point in 2026, you can couple those ideas of science and quantum consciousness and say, yeah, like when you go back to source or the idea of reincarnation and things like this, I would say that we are entangled with it. We are part of it. And the mechanism by which we sort of are born and have a relationship to the greater, larger cosmos is undetermined. But I do think also that, as you're describing, that if we came from nothing in that space, entangled with it, then certainly, in my mind's eye, I'm not the arbiter of anybody's truth, and I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but I would suspect that we go back to it and are part of the larger sea of cosmic consciousness. And that, it may be too tidy. It may be against what anybody out there believes. And like I said, I don't care. Meaning, please understand that I am also a human with my own ideas, and I would say that's where I stand right now. But does it mean it's real? Of course not. It's just one human talking about an idea amongst a sea of billions of humans and trillions of ideas. So that's what I got in the moment. And I reserve the right to change my mind, as always. But that's how I see it. And I think maybe you're onto something.
Yes, I agree. I think this space, as always, I tell you, Michael, this space is a vessel for people who wants to learn and share ideas without becoming a teacher, trying to impose any truth. It's a very important space, because all the media, most of the media now, are engaging confrontation, are very far away from consciousness. So when you bring topics like this, it is healthy for the human being, in my opinion, because it triggers consciousness, regardless any theory, regardless any reason, just by the feeling. So people are here because they feel something more than they think something about it. So I appreciate the feeling that I can feel by this topic, and by being conscious about my dog, that it's alive and it will be always alive, because I'm going to be always conscious about it.
What is your dog's name?
Maya.
Maya. May Maya rest in peace as she travels over the Rainbow Bridge. And thank you for sharing that. It is brutal. It's brutal to lose people. It's brutal to lose pets. And pets have a certain innocence to them that makes it, I don't want to say harder than losing a family member, but equally hard, because there's an innocence to them. Like they were of this circumstance to be with us, and we protect and take care of them. And, in a modern world, you let sort of a modern dog go and they'll get eaten by coyotes or whatever, or hit by a car. So there's sort of that level of innocence is difficult to reconcile when it comes to a loss like that. There's almost no proper agency for these poor poor animals. But thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sure Maya's going to be fine over that Rainbow Bridge. Appreciate you very much. What else you got, brother? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I agree, and I think in this case in particular, Maya participate with us, and she abandoned her body, but the existence of Maya, I'm now processing the lesson. I think Maya came here to teach me and my parents a lesson about us as a family and about us as human individuals. At the same time, I think when you are sad and when you cry the loss of your pet or any animal, I think it is the holy, immaculate energy of God teaching you a lesson that it could take time, but you will learn it anyway. Thank you, Michael.
Amen. And those lessons are everywhere, by the way. Just pay attention. The world can teach you a lot of things. Yeah, agreed. Thank you for the call. Sorry for your loss. And fire stuff as always. Appreciate that very much. Cramos, you know him, you love him. Notables Radio. And where to find him at Cramos in Chile. Very easy. TroubledMinds.org/friends. I sound like a broken record, but please go help our friends. That's the whole point of this list. It's an in list, not an out list. If you belong on this list, all you have to do is help us some way. Participate in the chat regularly. Help share us on social media. Call in once in a while. Whatever. Like whatever it is. You help us one iota, you belong on this list. So just contact me, hit me up on Discord, or send me an email, troubledmindsradio@gmail.com. And right there, Cramos. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Click the friends link on the website. Scroll down alphabetically. Cramos is with the C. Notables Radio. And again, for such a conscientious man with great manners as he has, like I said, he's been banned from YouTube more than once, maybe. So anyway, like what is that about? Like a conscientious, polite person has said some things that got them banned on YouTube. What does that mean? Let's go help our friends continue to build, continue to grow, continue to share ideas, because that's what this is all about. Period. It's about ideas. Like I said, people may pass. Ideas live forever. James, anything to add? We'll go to the Robert and we'll wrap it up. We will go a little late if you guys want to jump in here. Like I said, I do understand. I'm sorry, pulling the rug on 3 shows a week to just one time a week. We'll do that for a little while. I'm not sure how long, but I got some things cooking. I'll explain to you some of the things after, just before we finish here. It's super cool. But we are, anyway, whatever. James, anything? Go ahead, sir. Sorry. Ramble, Mike.
No problem. Great call from Cramos. Sorry also to hear about about Maya, but also I do agree she'll always be around. And yeah, looking forward to the rest of the show here.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's heavy. It's losing anybody is heavy, and pets and people and family, and I mean, and again, I've had a recent loss myself. It's been a bad week, and like just for privacy, I'm not gonna give you details, or I mean, I do have family members that listen and stuff, but it's not lost on me that we are living and loving and missing. Okay, I just don't want to make family stuff public. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's difficult. So I feel like tonight should honor those we've lost, and I'll put it like that. And it's been a bad week. I appreciate the call there, Cramos. And we're talking consciousness tonight. Is it quantum? Is there such a thing as an empty husk? Can your soul be injured somehow and then rehabilitated or mended? You tell me. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Like I said, we'll go a little late if you guys want to jump in here. I don't want to rug pull all the shows and all the great conversations we have. So we will go late if you want to jump in and say something. The Robert, welcome back. What do you got for us tonight? And all yours. The Robert. Are you there? Test 1, 2. Uh-oh. We got a technical issue. Try unmuting directly on your phone. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know if you're on your phone or your computer or whatever. I'll talk for a minute. Just interrupt me. And so yeah, when it comes to any of this stuff, I want to point this out too. When it comes to the idea of sort of a husk or the soul leaving, like we've talked about Robert Monroe having sort of rescue missions going into this nether space or this astral region where they help, passing souls lost in purgatory find the light. Okay. And it dawned on me that there's this actual thing called catalepsy. And it is this, so symptoms include a rigid body, rigid limbs staying in the same position when moved, or this waxy flexibility, no response, loss of muscle control, and slowing down of bodily functions such as breathing. And this is that old thing, the old vampire thing, where the people would sort of kind of lock up, would be non-responsive, and they thought they had passed. And they would have the funeral and whatever, and they would go bury them or put them in the church, for the viewing. And then they would wake up and come out of it and start trying to claw out. And there's a horrific story here in this historical cases about where this happened to somebody in 429 BC. And I mean, but this has been a thing forever. And it is very much in line with this idea that can your soul dip and then leave your husk and then come back? And so this is a medical thing, a neurological thing. This is something that is deep and scary. And I mean, talk about nightmare fuel, being buried alive, like holy crap. But beyond that, it makes me wonder about people that are not just catatonic in this space, but let's say, quote, the medical term, modern medical term is brain dead. Yeah. And they say that people that come out of those comas at that level can hear everything. They experience everything. Weird, right? So what level of this is sort of the soul kind of taking a step out or not? And I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions. I just, kind of going through the paces here of trying to figure out, put pieces together, make some sense of nonsense. And, us against the cause. Us, Troubled Minds v. Cosmos. That's it. Robert, are you there? Testes 1, 2. Are you there? I don't know what happened. If you want to call on the phone line, I'll stay up late for you. So if you want to dip and then call back, we will certainly do that. So it's up to you. You tell me. I'll hang on for a little bit here. Like I said, there's a lot to get to. There's a lot in the write-up too that's really pertinent to this. And Robert brought up some of that earlier about the sort of the idea of the dreaming God, and we're in the dream of a, I want to say superior being, but you know what I mean. I don't want to be, again, blasphemous, disrespectful, but also I'm a D&D guy, so you know what I mean. Deities and demigods. So yeah, that's that. Yeah. So Robert dipped, so he may call back. If he calls, we'll take his call. But that, I mean, look, I don't know. You know me. Look, I talk about these ideas because I'm unafraid of the larger cosmos when it comes to that. But I do recognize, and it also hits me. Like I have moments of deep, deep, deep sorrow, considering that maybe it is us against the void. Maybe the light of consciousness out there is so few and far between that we are effectively alone. But think of it this way. At least if we're effectively alone, then on this blue pearl out there in the cosmos, we're effectively alone together. Which means, I'll say it, we're not alone at all. There you go. We'll wait to see if Robert wants to call. Anything to add, James? And then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I was saying in the stage chat there, I do have that dream that my relatives had that I could throw in if you all want.
Sure. Let's actually hang tight. Let's wrap on that. Actually, so the Robert's there. He's back. Maybe thinks he fixed it. So we'll go to Robert and then we'll wrap on that. So we got time. We're gonna hear it all. Don't feel truncated. Again, you had a long night too, but we're gonna hear what you said. Let's see if we can get Robert fixed. If not, then we'll go to your story, and then hopefully you can call us on the phone line or something or whatever. But Robert, you're on Troubled Minds. What's up, brother? Are you there?
You got me.
I got you. We got you, buddy.
Right.
Go ahead.
One thing, that the soul has to be immortal because it's constantly recycled. That's what reincarnation is. But the reason I called back is I want to give some advice to young Daryl. One thing, he's living at home, and he's among probably millions of his generation that are living at home right now because of the way things are. But I'd like to reflect on James and you in the interest of Daryl. All right.
Derek.
James,
I mean Derek.
James.
Derek.
James. I'm sorry, Derek.
Yes.
James knew what he liked. There was, he had the supernatural things like that, and he put that into play with his video, with his YouTube show, and in books. You had this intellectual interest in things of the mind, and you brought that into Troubled Minds. Daryl is an extremely bright young man. All right, what he needs to do is get inside himself and figure out what really interests him. All right, that's what makes success, when you know what interests you and you pursue that. And he has this encyclopedic understanding of mythology, of gaming, the whole realm there. And that's where he should focus his attention on. I mean, sure, he has to make a living, all right? But he's not there, he's there 8 hours a day, but he's got 16 hours otherwise, all right? Maybe he needs 6 or 7 hours of sleep. But that's what he should focus on. Because he really, matter of fact, in my opinion, he should be writing for the gaming industry, the magazines. He should be writing essays about the mythology that he understands, the gaming he understands. He should be writing that and get paid for it. Or figure out some way to make a living out of his own knowledge.
Agreed, 100%. Shout out Mr. Douglas over there on X. Thank you for listening, and thanks for the kind comments. I'll read his comment after. It's weird. So when we get a comment on X, if you don't say it immediately and they dip, they don't know they're there because the chat doesn't combine. But you're right. Look, we all appreciate Derek a great deal and recognize his brilliance. And that's it. I think I saw something recently on X, by the way, speaking of X, where somebody said something to the effect of, it's more of a mush in my brain at this point. I don't know the exact verbiage, but it was something to the effect of, like, there's a childhood magic to your interest, and go back and find it, and you'll sort of live a more fulfilled life, because that old, the old adage is, do something you love and you won't work a day in your life. And look, it is part of this. Like, I wish this paid the bills. It doesn't. I'm a part-time guy with this, but I mean, imagine.
Eventually will.
Thank you. I hope so. I'm working really hard on it, and I'll tell you guys what I'm working on. You will like it, because there is. You're going to be able to search the archive and find all the Robert calls, or find all the commentary from James, or find the Nightstocker calls, or the Jen calls, or the Daryl calls, or the whoever. Like, I'm literally going through the archive episode by episode, and I'm putting timestamps and the callers, and you'll start to see them. Go check out the YouTube on both YouTube TV, Troubled Minds TV and the Troubled Minds channel. You'll look. There's now timestamps where you can go click on Robert, and it'll take you to Robert's call. So kind of being able to find a way to catalog it and then make it easier to find in the larger context, because we have got so much fire stuff over the course of the 8 years and 1,100 episodes plus. That's not the only, but one of the biggest things that we haven't done, that I haven't done, a failing of mine, is cataloging all that. Like if there's a fire call somewhere, we're blessed to be buried in them. But I can't go back and find when or where it was, because it's stuck in my memory somewhere, and I don't even know what episode it came from. But suddenly, give me 6 months, and I'm going to be able to sort all that stuff out, and it's going to be incredible. Go check out the YouTube channel, the last few episodes, and you can click on the thing, click on somebody's name, and it will give you exactly where to find the call from somebody, including the Robert tonight. Appreciate you very much, brother. What else you got? Thanks for calling back.
Well, in my local paper, the Sunday edition, always has a column by a gamer, and it's fascinating to read it. That's where Daryl should start, with his local paper, writing offering to write a column for the local paper on gaming. I'm just saying, God gives us all a frantic interest in something. And there's a reason for that. And the reason, and that reason is that he wants you to pursue that interest. All right. You ever wonder, why am I interested in this? Well, that's why. Because you're meant to pursue that. And that's what Derek should be doing. All right. On his free time, he should spend that free time in an effort to pursue his interest.
And he does, by the way, because you can see he brings copious notes that sometimes fit synchronistically with what we're doing. So he's certainly doing that. It's just a matter of kind of taking the next steps.
Well,
so let's
those notes are an outline.
Yes.
Or an essay. All right. Or even a fictional story, a sci-fi story, whatever. But he has knowledge that he should share with the world. All right. I don't know. It's just calling up and typing it out, and I would be. I know all the publishers. I know all the short story magazines, things like that. There, the gaming magazines. That's where he should be looking at. Just try it. That's all.
Okay.
Just try it once.
Shout out Derek the Nightstocker. There you go. From a grizzled veteran publisher, a mentor of us all, and a kindred spirit storyteller. Appreciate the advice, man.
I got a kitten biting my toes here.
Okay.
Oh, good night.
Gucci Goo. Have a great one. Appreciate the call. You are the best. The Roberts in Pennsylvania. You know him, you love him. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. The Roberts. Please go check out his books. Automagically. They're on Amazon. You can buy them tonight, get them tomorrow. As you can, James's books. Please do that. SalcedoParanormal.com. James, welcome back. Thanks for being patient and flexible here. You've got a relation for us, an experience, a family experience that we love to hear.
Yeah, and so a few people may have heard it before on here, but it's been a little while. So my older sister and her oldest son had this weird experience years ago. She had this dream one night that she was in a car with her husband and her oldest son, and they were driving down a major, like a highway type road here in Michigan, where we all live, and they started hearing sounds like things, almost like a war, like things hitting the ground, like munitions or whatever, explosions or off in the distance. And ahead of them, the road was barricaded, and there were soldiers there, and they were turned away. And so as they were driving away, these explosions and things, they were shaking the car that they were in. And at one point, the dream ended for her. And she came down that morning to breakfast and everything and started talking about it. And her oldest son was freaked out because turns out he had that same dream. But it ended, where it ended for him was not the same place where it ended for her. And he saw it in the dream. At one point when the car was rocked a little bit, she bumped her head on the side of the car. And he saw that. And that seems like it's where she left the dream. Because it went on a little further for him, but not for her. So in other words, they had this shared dream experience they both felt like it was something to do with like aliens or other beings. Like it wasn't just a regular dream. And so she feels like he saw the place in the dream where she left consciousness in that world and came back here.
It's weird, man. Like some of those things are weird. And, go back and watch Inception if you haven't seen that movie. It's dreams within dreams, and the kick, right? The whole bit where they got to kind of knock them out of the space they're in to bring them up layers and levels of dreams. Like that is deep, deep, deep stuff. That is shamanic stuff. That goes back to that aboriginal dream realm. That goes back to the primordial space of being human. It's all that stuff is incredible. And it does make you wonder, like how much interacts from one space to the next. And again, sort of the fractal of a dream where somebody, let's say we're having the same dream, somebody comes out of it, 10 seconds sooner or later. And the dream time that could be 4 hours of dream time. So, I mean, all of that, man, is just, it's a mind screw is what it is, but it's an incredible tale there. And this isn't the real car accident, right? This is a dream space of said. I don't know if you shared those details. You shared them with me privately, so I don't want to out anything, that you don't want out. But I mean, so was it similar to a real incident, or was it not? And you don't have to elaborate. I'm not trying to twist your arm to tell anything additional.
No, it's no problem. And that wasn't even them involved in the accident that you're thinking of. That was my brother and his family. And this was years ago. This dream was years and years ago. And so, yeah, it wasn't even the same people. So it doesn't seem to be connected at all.
My apologies for not being able to keep your family straight. I'll get it one day. Who is who and what is what. It's a lot of information flowing through all the time. But yeah, I mean, and that becomes the question, right? Like the dream time is different. And what does it mean? Can we meet in the same space in the dream realm? Like I said, it seems like a woo-woo question to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And were they in some alternate parallel universe where in that other world, because this hasn't happened yet, they don't live together anymore. Those two together, they're not in the same house anymore. But yeah, it really is fascinating. I mean, what happened? How did the fact that my sister hit her head slightly in the dream bring her out of it? And she was, I forgot to mention too, when she did that in the dream, her son, my nephew, saw her still in the car, but it was like she had passed out.
Weird,
in the dream.
Weird, man. And so this was not related to a thing, but they was certainly a shared dream space.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely wild. And that's why these types of conversations are, like I said, we're on the fringe of that. Like we are kind of on the edge of where science meets the woo. And it is highly fascinating because you can't really quantify this stuff yet. $40 trillion in debt. Yet. More coming. But I digress. So when you start to stack all this stuff together, the questions become more like the answers are elusive. And so the questions certainly stack and you wonder what we're even dealing with. And, that's above my pay grade to make the determination of what the entire universe is. So I won't try, other than coming back as often as I can, talking about these wild ideas with incredible people like you, James. Appreciate you sharing the tale there and the experience, and even being close and personal. It's sometimes it's hard to share family stuff. So appreciate that very much. Anything else? And if not, we'll wrap it up.
No, just glad to be here. This has been a great topic. So many great calls as always. And yeah, it just has me thinking about all the different things, the dream space, like we talked about earlier with people that go into comas or when you're sleeping, are you always, do we remember all the out of body experiences we have? I don't know if we do. But yeah, always more questions. And that's part of the fun of all this. So thank you as always for having me on.
Glad to have you. You are absolutely the best. You love him. Salcido Paranormal, SALSIDO paranormal.com. Please go help James. Buy his books, follow him on the Discord, check out the podcast he's doing, fire stuff. And I'm not kidding when I say, look, he's going to eclipse us. Like we're 1,160 some episodes on Troubled Minds. He's like at 1,100 now. Like he's going to pass us. But it's not a competition. It's about ideas. It's about information. It's about synthesis of the greater information space and then talking about them within these lanes with incredible people. Check it out. Once again, and I'll say it again, you'll hear my voice on the beginning of his tracks there when he does his podcast. James has the most comprehensive paranormal network on the internet right now. The space is there. Like he's talked about so many angles and so many different things, not just mythology, Keel, Stephen King, like Charles Fort, you name it, and all manner of actual true paranormal experiences from the web, as well as experiences of people. Hey, look, that's what this is about. It's about ideas. There's no competition. We don't always have to be stuck in the competition realm. We can collaborate. We can share ideas. We can share the dream space. We can share the real space. And of course, wonder collectively what comes next. This one, if you want to help us directly, help our friends, as I've been saying, troubledminds.org/friends. If you want to help directly, just spread the word. Let people know a conversation is happening where we're not going to tell you who to vote for. Every conversation is not going to evolve into some binary political BS nonsense. And we're going to talk about the larger context of what all this means. Let people know. It's real. And beyond that, I'm working on some cool stuff. Go check out the YouTube channels and you'll see. I'm trying, like, we have so much content. I could take 5 years off and just curate all the content and create little mini episodes and spin-offs and all kinds of stuff, but then I wouldn't be doing this. And this is what I'm best at, okay? So I got some stuff coming. So I'm going to take just the rest of the several weeks off. I don't know how long it's going to be. Several weeks for sure. We'll just do Sunday nights. So thank you for understanding that there's a ton of stuff that needs to happen. Otherwise, this is going to be an abandoned project that maybe nobody will ever remember. Let's make it different. Let's cut some stuff up. Let's highlight you guys more than I have. And let's continue dreaming and thinking about what comes next. That's it. This one tonight goes out to each and every loss we've had, whether that's people, whether that's, of course, family, whether that's connections, whether that's pets. On and on, continually in our mind space of we're here and we're lucky to be so because many are not. So this one goes out to each and every loss, every person, every soul, everybody we miss that is not as fortunate as us to be here. So remember them, be grateful for what we have. And this one goes out to all the souls of the world that came before us, that are here now. We'll leave the come after us folks for when that happens. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. I want to read that comment from, this is very nice of him, over on X. Mr. Douglas says, enjoying this show and all the episodes I've tuned into. Keep it going. This is solid late night, coast to coast AM style stuff. Your hosting is pro level. Thank you for that. I've had a lot of practice and we've had a lot of incredible people as part of it. So you're definitely welcome. Thank you for listening and tuning in, each and every one of you. And we'll see you guys next Sunday, God willing. Don't forget, tomorrow is not ours until it's in the books. So make sure that you are conscious and aware and grateful for every moment we have. That's that. Michael Strange out. You guys have a fantastic night. We'll see you next Sunday. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great night. Wrong button.